Hey everybody, this is the Sliders Review. I'm here today to talk to you about the Orville New Horizons episode Electric Sheep. So, in other words, the Orville Season 3, which I probably will call it. I really don't feel like adding the whole New Horizon thing. I feel like if they were going to do like a spin-off, then they shouldn't have called it New Horizon, but whatever. I guess they had to make it different from that of the Fox show, probably. I don't know. But finally, the Orville is back, and I love the Orville. I loved it ever since it came out back in 2017 on Fox. And it came out around the same time after, Star Trek Discovery. And a lot of fans, Star Trek fans, fell in love with the Orville because the Orville felt more like Star Trek than New Trek. And so the Orville, it mostly borrows from that of Star Trek The Next Generation. Seth MacFarlane, other than that of Alex Kurtzman, is actually a huge Star Trek fan and has met many of the past Star Trek cast members and stuff like that, bringing with him a couple of executive producers and writers and directors from old Trek, and having a couple of Trek stars cameo in the show and stuff, or star in the show. Rumor has it he pitched an idea to CBS to make a new Star Trek show. They said no. He got pissed, went to Fox, and then created the Orville. Now, when the Orville first came out in season 1, a lot of fans didn't know what to make of it. It felt like Star Trek, but it had humor in it. And a lot of people say the humor was hit or miss. I actually liked the humor in season 1. I think season 1 is by far the best. Season 3 still hasn't fully only the first episodes come out, so you can't really judge it too much, but it's good. But season 1 for now is still my all-time favorite. I love the jokes that was in it. I love the sci-fi references that was in it. I love the feel of Star Trek because at that time, Discovery really sucked. And so however, I always felt like the Orville should probably just drop the humor and just be a little bit more serious, something like that, because I do love Star Trek and I really don't like when comedy is in Star Trek, unless it's needed. Now, I know the Orville isn't Star Trek, but it is Star Trek, if you get what I'm saying, and stuff. Then we get to season 2 of the Orville, still on Fox, and I wasn't really feeling that season at all. It was more emotional and character driven, too much character driven, to the point where there really wasn't no sci-fi Star Trek type stuff going on in the show. And that was a huge disappointment. I didn't really want to see no space opera with a bunch of people talking about their lives and feelings and emotions. My only favorite episodes of season 2 were the last 3, where all that emotional depth actually came to light for a good reason, because they had a huge invasion going on from this cybernetic race, and known as the Kalon. And so then the last episode I do with time travel, and it felt more like Star Trek again. However, I think that's where they hit their stride. See, the show has always struggled of that tone to hit. In the first season, people say, "Oh, you're too comedic. You need to be more serious. You need to be more and then need to be less like Star Trek and da da da." So then in the season 2, they made it less like Star Trek, and then they started having more character, this and that. But then that kind of weighed the show down to where it was just kind of do something sci-fi, And so I feel like that's what kind of caused it to the ratings to go plummet more than what they did in season 1, because season 1 ratings weren't really that great, and it was more like a pity renewal and stuff for season 2. And so with it being a hit and miss with fans and stuff, and the tones are kind of shifting and ratings weren't that good, of course Fox canceled it, because Fox always cancels everything. But Hulu thankfully saved it, and saved it did. It gave them a huge budget, and they used every bit of that dollar to make their show look more spectacular than what it did before. And so now they got that good streaming money, and they can make it look more like a movie, like all these other streaming shows. So they tweaked the interior of the ship, And because, the ship got like damaged last season, and so they had to retrofit it and stuff. Well, not retrofit, just like fix it up and stuff, tune it up. But they tweaked the inside. The outside still looks the same to me. Their uniforms got tweaked a little bit, and Isaac, he really got an upgrade and on his look. Like, he's more technological looking, robust looking. It doesn't look like a man wearing like a aluminum foil type suit. He's actually wearing a suit that looks robotic. And I'm thinking, if they could make something like this look so good, why can't we get a RoboCop series, I mean, there was one back in like the 80s or 90s, but it wasn't really all that great because all the violence was taken out when it was on ABC. But yeah, the technology, the digital technology, the CGI, it looks amazing. And what's interesting is that the ship, as glossy and shiny as it is, it doesn't hurt my eyes like Strange New Worlds, the Enterprise, or anything on Discovery. Like, the visuals are like very stunning and pleasing, very beautiful, very lush. And it's not like just like killing my eyes and everything like it does with New Trek. And so I really love that. Also, they are like, the ship does like fly around like all crazy, like the Defiant and everything. And like, sometimes the camera angles do like twist and turn, but it doesn't make me nauseous and want to throw up like that of like New Trek and everything. Now, this episode, in my opinion, is superb. It had a nice blend of sci-fi and emotion. Not so much humor. The humor was very missed for me in this episode. Nothing seemed to land when it came to the humor. And that's because they didn't wait to let the joke breathe before people started talking again. And that's how it was with every joke in this episode. It's like they will say something funny, they'll let 1 second pass, and then they'll just start talking. And it didn't feel like that type of humor that Fox had. And that type of like, how sometimes when you watch a show or an episode or whatever, and you can kind of hear kind of like this nothing noise in the background and stuff, or you hear something in the background that lets you know that a joke is coming. I didn't hear none of that in this episode. So it was very stiff and very bleak when it came to the jokes in this episode. Now, the acting was good in this episode, except for a few people. Some people felt stiff. It's been a while since they've done this because of the you-know-what virus and stuff. And like the only people who really felt stiff to me really were like probably John and Kelly. I'm pretty sure they'll get their techno babble like words out again, because like with John, it felt like he had a hard time trying to get his techno babble out and everything. As for Seth, that's been one huge criticism of this show, is his acting. If you don't know who Seth MacFarlane is, he's a creator and voice actor. Voice acting is where he excels at. Live action, on the other hand, not so much. And it shows like in every episode and stuff. But I get why he wants to be the lead in this show, because he loves Star Trek. The man loves it, and I don't blame him, So now this episode had a lot of good emotional depth to it. It displayed prejudice, racism, hate, sorrow, guilt. And there was one thing that happened is I did not really see coming. There's some things in this episode I predicted, and there are other things that took me by surprise that I did not see coming. But this episode needed that levity of like emotional weight to it, because it piggybacked off of my favorite episode of the second season. And that is, the aftermath of what happened when the Kaylon invaded and stuff. How are people going to get past that? Well, not a lot of people did. In fact, pretty much the entire ship did not. There are some characters that took me by surprise and everything. There's a new character on the show named Charlie Burke. Now, in the first episode, she is not likable whatsoever. And I'll get into reasons why. Personally, I don't really care for this character, mainly because of this episode, but I didn't care for her when I found out she was going to be cast on the show. It's not the actress, because I don't even know who she is, but it's the fact is, like, why do we need a brand new character? Why? Especially when this is the last season. And not only that, but I just want Alora back. I miss Alora. I love Alora. She was awesome. I liked the actress before she was even cast in the show because I saw her in an NBC show called Crisis. And it just sucks that she's not on the show no more. She was a great addition to the show. Now, rumor has it that she was dating Seth MacFarlane, and when they broke up, boom, she left. Never date your bosses. Never. So the beginning of this episode was very thrilling and everything. Like, I knew this was coming because I saw the sneak peek about a couple of months ago. And it shows the attack of what happened last season. And it's more visually stunning and appealing because they have a better CGI budget. And you see Marcus, the son of Claire, Dr. Claire Finn. He's running through the corridors. He's scared. He's panted. He's trying to reach his brother. This scene is a masterpiece. This is movie level at its best. And yes, it's a million times better than whatever New Trek and Discovery has ever put. I know I'm bashing New Trek and Star Trek, but yeah, whatever. It's hard to compare these two shows without, comparing them and stuff. Or it's hard to talk about this show without comparing Trek and everything. Because it basically is Star Trek. But the visuals, everything is happening, but you can take everything in. The problem with New Trek is that it spins around and happens so quickly and fast and a fast pace that you don't know what is going on. But with this, I can see clearly everything that's going on. I can take it in. I can feel it. And it feels great and everything. And so, he reaches his brother and then he sees Isaac. And then Isaac's eyes turn red and he has a monstrous mouth on him. And it's a dream sequence. We kind of figured that when we saw the sneak peek and everything because the Kalon mouths don't do that. And so he's having nightmares because of what happened last season. It's hard for him to get past this because he used to really love Isaac and everything. Him and his entire family. And Isaac betrayed them. And Isaac people tried to commit genocide and stuff. And so he is going to have a very, very, very hard obstacle to complete in this episode because he has so much hatred towards Isaac and everything. Will he be able to overcome that? Will he be able to climb, that mountain and, be that, that evolved human that we see so much in these shows and stuff? But it's not just Marcus. It's pretty much the entire crew. See, in this entire episode, Isaac is experiencing something he has really never experienced before. And that is bigotry, hate, racism, because of what he did to portray his crew and what his race tried to do to the entire galaxy. Now, Isaac did betray his own cybernetic race because, they were about to kill the Flynn kids and stuff. And because he cares for them, he decided that he was going to betray his people. Now, here's the strange thing. He has no emotions like Data, but yet he still feels like Data and stuff. Even though Data doesn't understand emotion and he doesn't understand emotion, he understands the principles of what emotions is and how you're supposed to protect people, this and that. And so as he goes into the mess hall, he goes to sit at a table with some people because John suggested that he should get out more because he just stays in the little science lab or astrometrics lab, whatever one it is. And so he goes. And then when he does, people get up from the table. And he realizes that these people have a disdain for him. But then one person comes back. That is Charlie Burke. And I first thought, okay, maybe she's going to be nice and be all look, I'm sorry. That's just how the other people are. And that's kind of how she was at first. But the little sneaky little thing decided to upload on Isaac and tell him how she doesn't like him. She hates his guts pretty much. And she thinks he should stay out of the mess hall and stay away from the crew because the rest of the crew hates him and stuff. And then she tells him a very sad, tragic story of what happened. Cause see, she was never part of the Orville. She was on another ship. On another ship, she had a best friend. I think her best friend might have been her lover, but they don't want to go into that just yet. But I have a feeling it is. But anyway, it's her best friend. And they were trying to get to the escape pod. Well, it wouldn't launch on its own, so somebody had to manually launch it. And her best friend, maybe they are best friends, because they were really lovers and everything. Maybe they probably would have kissed. But then again, it could have been like that Dumbledore and Grindelwald thing where it's like one-sided. So who knows? So her friend decided to go and launch the escape pod and sacrifice herself. She has carried hatred in her heart ever since then. And so because of that, she just does not like Isaac. Now, Talia, the security chief, she sees and hears this and everything. And so when Isaac goes back into his science lab, he sees the words murderer in red spray paint all over the display screen. And so he keeps this to himself and doesn't tell nobody. It isn't until Talia discovers it and she lets Ed and Kelly know about this. And Kelly is very shocked that Isaac has been receiving bigotry towards him ever since he was reactivated last season and stuff. And so Talia decides she's going to tell Ed about what she heard Charlie say. So he calls her to his office. And this is, like I said before, where Seth's acting needs to improve, because if this was Janeway, Cisco, Kirk, Archer, or Picard, they would have done a better job at this scene. And so basically she just tells Mercer how she feels and everything, and why she hates his his species and everything. And it's just she will never forgive him because she can't look past what he did. And that's something a lot of humans feel. They just can't get past when they are wrong, and when they're wrong by a giant group and stuff like that, or a community. It's very much what happens in our lives, there are some people who can't get past what happened with slavery. There's some people who can't get past what happened with mass murders. There are some people who can't get past of certain laws that get passed. There are some people who can't get past when their country's being terrorized and stuff. And so they blame pretty much the entire country, or a group or a community or a race. And people have to remember, it's not everybody in that community is the same. There are actual good people and stuff, but people can't see past their own hatred and stuff. So this is a very powerful emotion episode. So other than that, they start to try to figure out who did this and stuff. So she's doing her detective work off screen, and she realizes who did this. Somebody used the doctor's passcodes, and of course it's her son Marcus. I kind of had a feeling it was him, because I didn't think it would really be none of the crew, because they wouldn't risk getting kicked out and everything. But Marcus is just a civilian. So there's a heated argument between Marcus and his mom that literally turns into a debate and everything, because he tells her, he hates Isaac, he cannot stand him and everything. He wants him off the ship, and he doesn't want to live on the ship if Isaac's going to be there. But his mom's like, where are you going to go? Seriously, where is he going to go? And he doesn't care where he goes. He just doesn't want to be there. And then he asks her a very interesting question. He asks her, and this is when it turns, he asks us straight up, if you forgive him so much, why haven't y'all started dating again? Which they haven't. So she's holding on to some type of dismay of her own and everything. And so I really thought she was going to Will Smith him in the face, especially when he said that. I thought we were going to see some Beverly Crusher slap Wesley type stuff. I really thought that was going to happen and stuff, but it didn't. And so watching this, Ed and Kelly and them, Talia, they can see. And so they're realizing there are more people, not even officers, that are having a problem with that of Isaac. And surprisingly, one of the people who has a problem with him is Gordon. I did not see this coming. Like when he went to go talk to Charlie, I assumed he was gonna reprimand her for being like a bigot and everything. But no, he saw like I'm on your side and everything. Like he can't stand them either. And I was just like shocked by this because those two always had it back and forth. Because, he took, I think, like Isaac's hand and Isaac took his leg trying to understand humor. And so they've always had that back and forth and stuff. But to the point where, yeah, I guess this whole time he just really never like liked him and stuff. And it boiled over when the evasion happened. And so with him, I would have preferred they would have like just written off the Charlie character and let Gordon be the one who has all this hatred towards Isaac, because it would have been a lovable character that everybody knows who went to the dark side, and we want to see him like come out of that and into the light, you know what I'm saying? And so I think it would have been a whole lot better if it was him instead of her, and then bring Laura back. But with Gordon in this episode, we get a bunch of new shuttlecrafts and he gets to fly them. And so this is of course a scene just to have a little bit more sci-fi type stuff and to show off his skills, and but the music in the background did not, it works, but it just doesn't feel like it should work. Like it feels like it's wrong, the music in the background as he's like flying around the shuttle and everything. And it felt like it was like a Disney montage or something. But we get to see some nice aero like stunts from him and shooting down the drones because they're trying to beef up their fleet and everything. And so Isaac is supposed to work on a new shuttle and like improve it so in case his like people attack again, right? And we see him working on it and he's like making a log entry. And so I'm like, okay, yeah, he's working on it. But then the moment he said this, I'm like, uh-oh, don't tell me he's gonna do what he's gonna do. And he says, give my best regards to the Flynn family, which is the doctor and her family. And then he activates his device and boom, he's completely shut off. Isaac literally committed suicide. And he did this because he weighed his options. Because remember, he doesn't have emotions. So he looked at this in a logical kind of way, but not in a full logical kind of way. And then he realizes that, he's making the crew uncomfortable. Nobody wants to be around him. It's going to affect their like jobs and this and that. So he feels like, and then the person he likes the most, it just pretty much hates his guts. So he figures his existence should no longer continue. And he literally deactivates himself in a way that is nearly impossible to reactivate him. And so Abed and John, they try to like fix him, but they can't. He basically sent the EM surge throughout in his entire system. And I seriously was like, holy crap, are they really gonna do this? Are they really gonna kill this dude off? Are they really gonna give us that huge like stake in the show to let them know that, hey, this is our last season and we're going out with a bang? But you gotta say, this is a depressing knowing this is the last season and they got this huge new budget and everything looks so much better and stuff, and they're gonna be out after this season. It just sucks. And so I was like, holy crap, dude. Then we start to see a shift in certain people's personalities. Gordon pretty much doesn't do anything after this, so we don't really know how he feels about it. John is upset, Kelly is upset, Ed is upset. Bortis doesn't really have no screen time in this episode. Neither does Talia, Talia in there, or whatever you say her name. But then of course it affects the Finn family. Marcus is now upset because, and we're not quite sure why he is upset until he talks to Charlie. And then when he talks to Charlie, see, the thing is that, well, first I'll get into that a little bit later. But we also see the doctor upset. And her son, she goes into the holodeck. And I figured she was going to go in the holodeck to reactivate like an Isaac program or when he was human or whatever. But no, the son beat her to it. And so it's her younger son. And she makes him leave. And because, he's sad about the whole Isaac thing. And then we see her reactivate the restaurant dinner part when they had in season 2. And she just sits in the chair and she cries. I thought she was going to have like a holographic Isaac, but she didn't and everything. And so like when after John got through banging some alien, and by the way, the prosthetics on this alien look really good. It doesn't look Star Trek. It doesn't look like Star Wars. It kind of looks a little bit like Babylon 5 probably, but it is nice that it looks acceptable, unlike the weird prosthetics that they use in Star Trek and New Trek. But anyway, he's talking to her and she's all like, she really doesn't care what Isaac did. She doesn't really care for him no more. It just kind of upsets him because he likes Isaac and everything. But then she gives him a brilliant idea. He goes to Isaac's dead body. He takes out a chip and he has this other alien that looks really CGI and really big and really grotesque and almost Jabba the Hutt looking. And he has him smash it. And so basically he's all like, there has to be some type of backup program within the program and everything, somewhere in this coding and everything. And if they can reactivate that, they can bring Isaac back. But the problem is, it's very, very, very sensitive matter that the ship can do, but he doesn't trust the ship computer. But there's only one person who specializes in that type of technology, who, I don't know, she has this weird ability where she's able to like go through pathways like really fast and other stuff like that. Of course, it's Charlie and everything. And so, the thing about this episode is that it feels like two different Star Trek shows. It feels like Star Trek Voyager, Dark Frontier, and then now one episode of TNG when Geordi is on the planet with a Romulan and Geordi can't see, but his legs work, and the Romulan, his eyes work, but his legs don't. Something like that. And they have to help each other. And Worf, they had no idea where he's at on that planet because they can't scan for him. And Worf, DNA, his blood, has the ability to rejuvenate this one Romulan that's on their ship, but he doesn't want to do it because he hates Romulans because of what they did to his family. So they constantly keep trying to get him to help Geordi. He's part of the crew, but Worf will not do that because of his father and stuff. And so it's at the point where Picard has to literally order Worf to go against his wishes and save that Romulan, but then it was too late because he died on the sickbay table. And so we get this here in this episode. Now, when it comes to Dark Frontier, I always thought it was weird that after that two-part episode, there was no ramifications of it. There was no aftermath of that. Nobody was all like, oh, I don't like 7 and 9 no more. It was none of that. But then it was great to see that in this Orville episode, they went that extra mile to show like people have a problem with Isaac and stuff. And so then, what is it? So Horace Burke, Charlie Burke is the only one who can like fix it. Of course, she doesn't want to do it. And she refuses to do it. All of a sudden, they get attacked by a Kaylon ship. Just one. And so I assumed, okay, they're going to persuade her to fix Isaac so he can help with this situation. It doesn't go that way. Instead, it's a chase. And so the Kaylon ship is just like firing on them. Now, it is kind of weird that one lonely ship is there. I kind of wanted to know the purpose of it. This is the second time a Kaylon ship has just shown up with no purpose. And because, when the Borg show up, we know why they're showing up to a simulation. But then the Kaylon, I guess they just want to kill every, species in the galaxy. I guess that's why they showed up. But it's kind of like that one lone ship, you know what I'm saying? So they're trying to maneuver around it and all this and that. And they find, like, a planet. And he orders them to go into like the gas anomaly of the planet. And so the planet has kind of like this storm going on that affects the ship's system. So either the Kaylon is going to kill them or this planet is going to kill them. So he devised a really interesting maneuver for the Kaylon to lead because they know they're no match alone to take on that ship. So he orders Bortus to like put a bunch of torpedoes on the shuttlecraft and it's remotely piloted near the front of like the hull of the ship. So they fire phasers on it and it explodes, making the Kaylon think, oh, since this explosion was near the Orville, it must have exploded. And so it takes off. It's clever, but you think the Kaylon would be more smart to scan for the actual ship and see that it's fully intact. Why didn't it just do that? But I guess it was all like, oh, there's debris and that's what I'm picking up. But still, because like shuttlecrafts have their own energy signature, and their debris isn't as big as the ship. So that's kind of bad writing on their part, because how could that Kalon be that stupid? But in a way, they get out the planet and everything's fine. But of course, they still have to fix Isaac. Well, at this point, the ship systems got messed up to where the computer is not able to do what it needs to do to fix Isaac. So Ed then orders Charlie to fix him, but she refuses and he relieves her of duty. And so then I knew this was going to happen. And oops, my bad, I hit the camera. And so I knew this part was going to happen, and it does. Marcus talks to that of Charlie, and she thinks it's a bonding moment because they both hate Isaac and everything. But then he literally tells her he wants her to fix him, and she's all like, why? You hate him just as much as I do. And he tells her, well, yeah, I'm angry at him, but I didn't want him to die. And then so of course it happens. She fixes him, he's back to life and everything, and then now he has to get counseled. Oddly enough, he is counseled by that of the doctor. And I'm just like, why? Why is this always happening now? It happens in Discovery, where the Dr. Hugh is now a counselor. Doctors are not counselors. It doesn't work that way, It just really doesn't. And so she counsels him and want to know why he did that and to prevent him from doing it again. And she tells him, you did not look through this logically like you thought you did. Because, basically she tells him, if you end your life here and there and basically just makes those people happy, well, what's going to happen afterwards and stuff. I forget exactly what she said, but it's basically just like, you made this decision to end your life here and there because of people. Oh, no, I remember, because of people's reactions towards you. But then she said, what about a day from now, a month from now, a year from now? Those people's opinion of you is going to change and everything. So then you have ended like your life for like nothing. And, and so he thinks about that and realizes that she's right and stuff. And so, because you gotta stop and think about this when it comes to suicide, is why do it? Why are you trying to make other people who hate you happy? That makes no sense. I say continue to make them people upset and continue to live and everything. Be all in their space and everything. Because taking your life is not the answer. Like, get counseling, get help, talk to somebody, and screw those people, man. They suck. And so that's basically what all happens in this episode. It was a nice roller coaster, what I'm saying, of like emotion. And I really enjoyed that. The emotion did not feel forced like it does in New Trek. In New Trek, they try to like pile on the emotion, pile on the drama, pile on the tragedy that really makes you be like, you see that? That's so traumatic and everything. You're supposed to feel for that. But we don't feel nothing because it feels super forced and everything. And it feels forced by a bunch of people we don't know. And so, but with this show, we do know these people and stuff. And so it feels a lot more earned than what New Trek has done. And I hope they keep on this path. I hope they keep on the path of both emotion and sci-fi stuff. Because if they do what they did in season 2, well, it's just nothing but emotion. And it's just kind of bored me. Because if I wanted to watch a drama, I would watch a drama. But when I watch a sci-fi thing like this, I want everything that it has to offer. I want the drama. I want the sci-fi. I want the action. I just don't want one. And that's one thing that New Trek has a problem with. New Trek has a problem with just being like dark, gritty action and stuff. And it doesn't have that cool blend of what old Trek used to have. But the great thing about the Orville, it is trying to be like old Trek. It tried to give the fans what they wanted. But the fans didn't know really how to feel about this show. And that's why this show has always struggled for 2 seasons and everything. I'm hoping that if ratings are good, or viewership, I should say, because on Hulu now, if viewership is good and people give some good ratings and stuff, maybe Hulu will give it a 4th season. Like, who knows? But then again, maybe they'll do like a spinoff and everything. Who knows? But that would be nice if they did. Alrighty, well, I'll talk to y'all later. Bye.